and welcome to Murphy's garden, and you join Murphy and I in just by the lime trees here in the sunken garden. And last week I said that the narcissi that I had ordered for this area hadn't arrived, but they've now come, and I've got a box of 150 narcissi. These are the bulbs here, and what my plan is just to plant them en masse in this area, and I think they're going to look nice. We have got some white tulips that flank the long walk, so I thought these would look quite nice as well. So here in this area we had these are the strong Annabelle hydrangeas, which have taken a bit of a battering because after I planted them in the spring they all got eaten by rabbits, as many of you will know if you've watched the channel. But two of them got completely destroyed and are dead or didn't come back. The rest of them have got a little bit of life in them, so I've spaced out the ones that were left. There were 8 in total, but now I've just got 6, so I've spaced them evenly out because the 2 that had gone were next to each other. So I think 6, if they do well, I think 6 should be enough for this area. So we'll see how they do next spring, but I thought it'd be nice, obviously the hydrangeas, that you cut them back in spring, so when they've been cut back, it would be nice to have some narcissi looking good in this area. And this is quite a dark part of the garden because it's got the big cherry tree, and then I've got the Portuguese laurels, which have got quite a dark leaf to them. So having some narcissi, you're listening to me, Murph, aren't you? Having some narcissi that are white will sort of illuminate this area, because I tend to like to plant kind of white things in this area. So that's my plan. And now Murphy has got his own news, haven't you, Murphy? Because he has discovered a new delicacy. He keeps going around the garden, coming back eating something, and I didn't know what it was he was eating. I've now worked it out. We've got some peacocks that visit the garden, and they look lovely. They're absolutely beautiful, but they do poo everywhere. So Murphy has discovered a new delicacy of eating peacock poo, haven't you, Murph? It's rather nice, isn't it? So he highly recommends that to other dogs. It's hard to get your paws on, isn't it, Murphy? It's quite a delicacy, peacock poo. But anyway, I'm not putting my face near his because I know where it's been, what he's been doing, haven't you? So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to crack on and plant these narcissi, and then I've got jobs I want to do inside. We're in the middle of doing up a bedroom inside, so I've got curtains to make and a blind to make, so I'm going to go and do that after I've done the narcissi. Come on then, Murph, let's do it. So just looking at these narcissi, or daffodils as most of us call them, this is what they look like close up, and I'm sure most of you will know this already, but it's a good idea to plant them about 3 times the size of the bulb, so 3 times that. That's about the depth, quite deep, obviously pointy side up, I'm sure you all know that, and then probably about 10 centimetres apart, but I just want to get as much kind of coverage as I possibly can. And the way I like to plant them is you can use a bulb planter. Lots of people do that, and that's great, particularly in grass where you need to lift the whole clod of grass up. But for when you're doing it in the in soil, it's not really necessary to lift all the soil up. So what I like to do is just do it the same method that I use for planting bare root hedging, and that is just make a slit, wiggle the spade back and forward to make a hole, and then drop the bulb in. So it's 1, 2, 3.5, sort of, yeah, about the depth of that spade really. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And so all I do is just go back and forward, and then I just drop it in pointy side up. I can rake the soil over when I've finished. And if they do sometimes not go in pointy side up, they will usually sort of work their way up anyway. It's not that they won't flower, they still will, but it's better to plant them the right way. So this is a really quick way of doing it. That's 25 done. And the best time to plant daffs or narcissi is between September and November. If you go much beyond December, it's a little bit late then, so try and get them in. Now is a really good time. So So I'm quite keen to get mine in because we've just come into November. Gosh, I can't believe that we're in November. So yeah, October is the sort of prime time to do it really, but we're not far out of October. So let's just tip them all out. You can see what that number looks like. It seems a lot when you order it, but when you get them and you tip them out, you think it's not that many really. It isn't very far. So I've planted 50 already, so that's 100 bulbs. That's what 100 bulbs looks like. So let's speed things up. And we can get the job done really quickly, and I'm deliberately not bothering to put the soil back again because that way I can see where I've been, so I know which areas have had bulbs and which area hasn't. So I'm just working my way right around the area, and then when they're all in, I can then just go around and rake the soil over so there's a nice even distribution of bulbs all over this area. And that's all 150 bulbs planted, and all that's left to do now is just to rake over the soil just to make sure they're covered. There are lots of leaves in this area, as you can see, but I'm not particularly bothered about picking them up because they'll simply rot down and turn into lovely leaf mould, so I'm quite happy just to leave them in place. So we'll head now over to the greenhouse and the shed for a few more bulb planting jobs. And I'm now inside the greenhouse and I'm here with some more bulbs. These are the narcissi paper white, which I ordered because these are, you can plant them in the garden. I might put some outside, but traditionally they're often used to grow inside and to force and to enjoy a little bit of colour in the depths of winter, and they'll start to flower within about 4 weeks of planting them, so I want to get on and get those in. I've also got a few hyacinths and also the iris reticulata, just a few of those as well. I think that one's pixie, yeah, I've had that one before. And then before we get to that, oh hello Murphy. Before I get to that, the dahlias that we put in the greenhouse last week are lovely and dry. The straw that I put in underneath just to try and dry it out isn't dry, so I'm not going to risk putting it in that because I don't want them to rot. So they're nice and dry. I'll probably just I've got some tissue paper here, so I'll just wrap them in this tissue paper, label them well, and then I'll store them inside these hessian sacks, and they can go inside the shed because our shed is really well insulated and it should be frost free. So after wrapping in tissue, I've then just put the dahlias inside this hessian sack, and the nice thing about hessian, it just allows a little bit of airflow. So unlike like a plastic bag, if there is any moisture, they would just simply rot off, whereas this, it should allow a little bit of airflow. So these can go in the shed. Our shed is well insulated, so it should be frost free, and they have got this extra layer of insulation, so they can go in there. And now we'll get on with the bulb planting. So I'm here in the shed with a variety of different pots. I've got this nice glass one which would look quite more formal really. I like the idea of having this in the dining room. So I've just put some decorative glass beads in the bottom. You don't need any soil. You can put soil in, but this is what I'm going to do with this one. So I'm going to just set the bulbs in on top of the glass beads, quite tight. And the nice thing with this, the glass will help support the flowers and keep them upright. And then just once you've put them in, just put the container somewhere dark and cool for a week and just let the roots develop a little bit. And then once they've done that, then bring them out and put them on a windowsill, and they'll grow on. And in about 4 weeks, they should be in flower. So I'm putting, how many have I got? I'm going to get about 8 in here. Oh, sorry, Mo. Oh, I've got 8 already. I think that's enough. I'll maybe get, oh no, that's enough. So the nice thing about the glass is that you can watch the roots develop and it will look lovely. So that's that one. And the other container I'm using is this one. So it's got a hole in the bottom, so I'll just add a little crock over the top of that hole. So I'll just go into the greenhouse and fill it up. So I've just partially filled the pot, and I'll just do the same with this. And I'll just top it up with some compost. And in this one, I'm going to go for a more kind of rusticy look. So this is quite formal. This is more rusticy. So I've just put some pebbles in there, and then I'll do the same like I've done there with the paper whites. So the bag of bulbs makes a nice rustling noise, and Murphy thinks it's a bag of crisps, don't you? Life is all a pursuit of food, isn't it, Murph, at the moment? He used to love chasing his ball, but he can't do that now, he's old. So his main hobby is the pursuit of something to eat, isn't it, Murph? Right. Is that fair, Murphy? I think so. Right, we'll see how that works. It's all an experiment. And then I'm going to use this little dish, which is a very shallow dish, for my hyacinths, which are here. So I'll just fill this with some soil. Here we are, some soil, some compost, I should say. And I'll just put these, so it's just nice to have a little bit of the garden inside, isn't it? So I'm going to just do 3. I think any more than that's going to be too much. So 3 bulbs in there, and you just simply set them, push them down onto the compost. They don't need to be covered. And this lovely little container I'm going to use for the irises. So I've just put a little bed of gravel in the bottom because it hasn't got any drainage holes. So that way the water can sit amongst the gravel and it doesn't get, it doesn't rot off. And these are the little pixie iris bulbs. So I'll just put some compost in this. And that's that one. I've filled it about 3/4 full with compost. Just take my glove off. And then I'll just put these lovely little tiny bulbs like that. And I can enjoy this either inside or outside, whichever I want. I'm just spacing them out a couple of centimetres apart. Should do. And then I'll just cover that with some compost. And I might go and see if I can find some moss just to cover these with, because that would look quite nice. So I'll just go and see if I can find any in the garden. Oh, and that's more like it. There's no shortage of moss after all this wet weather. And when people consider extraordinary plants, most probably don't spare a thought for moss. But this group of plants, which actually comprises of between 12 and 15,000 species, is astonishing. It's one of the most ancient plant groups alive today. So this just makes everything look a bit nicer. So I'm just going to put the moss in between the hyacinth bulbs. I think we've got a wasp in the shed. That just instantly looks much nicer. There we are, how about that? And I'll do the same with this one as well. And the bulbs will just push their way through the moss, hopefully.
container here. So I've just put some of the paper whites in there. It can be moved somewhere a bit nicer whenever it starts to flower, and then I've just covered it with some of the moss. And at the end of the path we've got all the pots at the end here, so it's always nice to have something in this urn. Now in the middle was this geranium, which I've taken out, so that could all be dried off and overwintered, and then I've got this little gap in the middle, and you'll see there are some little grassy little bits of grass sticking up, and this is actually the Lageris ovatus, which is an ornamental grass. It's called bunny-tail grass. This is just a remnant of it here, and so it's self-seeded. I've taken out the original plant, but this is self-seeded, which I quite like. I'll just let that come on, so I'll leave that in place, but I'd like to put in some bulbs into the centre of this. So I'm putting the rest of the paper whites in this container, and again going to try and put them in quite deep, so 2-3 times the depth of the bulb in this container. And I'm quite relaxed about containers now. I don't really do as much as I used to. Maybe it's laziness, I don't know, but a lot of the things in this pot stay in here all the time. So like the ivy, it just stays in here, and I just renew things, I put geranium in here over the summer, and I just alternate things, but I don't really change things greatly. But I will just add a little bit more compost just to give all the plants in here a little bit of a boost. Got this lovely little shallow dish. I did put some of the pansies that were left over when I planted out the container, put them in here, but they look a bit pathetic, so I'm going to just deadhead them, and then I'm going to plant them with some other things, some bulbs, so it makes it look a little bit more impactful. And what I might do is just move them towards the sides of the pot over a little bit. That's it. Like that. And then I'll put the hyacinths. And then also the little irises, little reticulata irises. And I just need some more compost. And then finally, this little container I thought would look fab. So the story with this, it's a lovely agar teapot. We've had our agar teapot for a long time, and I decided to buy my sister one for her birthday. And when I ordered it and it came, the lid was stuck on it. You couldn't get the lid off. So I contacted Agar and they sent me a new one. But this one had no lid. So we had to break the lid in order to get it off. It was kind of manufactured with the lid stuck on it, oddly. So because of that, I've got this lovely spare teapot. So I'm going to use that to put some bulbs in, because I think it would look lovely. I don't know whether this is going to work. Oh, I thought I could get 3 in, but I don't know if I can. Yeah, that's it. So that just needs a clean up, and I think that's going to look lovely. And all that's left now are just a few little irises. So I might just put those in that tub. It's not really worth putting it in anything else. I'll just have a think if I can find anything else. What about this? This would look good, wouldn't it? With the irises in it. Oh, yeah. and I think they both need a little bit of moss on them just to make them look nice. And then we'll head into the shed and we'll go and have a look at all that we've done. And that's it really. These are all our containers. Just put them all there as a collection so I can see what we've done. We've got some nice little containers and things, and I think they're going to look lovely when they come through. So I've just given everything a little bit of a watering. The containers that haven't got holes in them, it's just important just to keep them slightly moist but not saturated, because obviously they can't drain off, so there is a risk that the bulbs can rot if they get too wet. So just a little bit of water in the bottom of these containers. And that's it really. So next video is going to be the Chatsworth video. I've been working on that, finding it really, really interesting. I hope you will too. So join us for that. I'm not sure when it will be, but possibly next week, but we'll see. So thank you very much for watching, and join us again in the next video. Bye for now.